Right now, what's holding us back is House Republican leadership not willing to go ahead and let the process move forward.
It's the oldest political trick in the book. Always blame the other guy. President Obama there explaining why he believes, quote, comprehensive immigration reform has stalled. Many perceive an apparent disconnect between the Republican Party and Hispanic Americans. That's what all the dominant media culture would tell us. But if that were true, our next guest would not be running for office.
My name is Jorge Bonilla, and I'm proud to announce that I'm running to represent you in Florida's 9th Congressional District.
Jorge Bonilla's story, like that of so many other American citizens, began with parents who came to the U.S. in pursuit of the American dream. As a young man, Jorge joined the United States Marine Corps, participated in operations in support of Desert Storm, where he proudly served with an honorable discharge back in 1993. Jorge's a new father. He's concerned about the state of the country and the way it will be when he leaves it behind to his son, and he says that's the driving force behind his race in challenging Alan Grayson, the Democrat, in Florida's 9th District. And his website, as you see, has the quote from Ronald Reagan, "In America, our origins matter less than our destination." And this is what democracy is all about. Jorge Bonilla, we welcome you to America's Forum. And we should also point out, as one who has been through contentious primaries in the past, that you will face Peter Vivaldi and Carol Platt in the Republican primary in an effort to unseat Democrat Alan Grayson this November.
That's right, and thank you for having me on, JD.
Jorge, we hear so much, especially after the last election. Oh, it's Hispanics. They're terrified of the Republican Party, so the Republican Party needs to embrace amnesty, needs to change everything about itself. What is your take on where the GOP is and the reason for your candidacy and why you think you'll ultimately be successful?
To wrap all that up in one short answer, we are a party of inclusion. The Republican Party has to go to move toward being a party of inclusion instead of focusing on outreach. Outreach is what we do, for example, when something is far away from us. But Hispanics, like other Americans, live in our communities. Their kids go together, go to school with our kids, and we have to make an effort to connect with our policies, to show people that we care, to show people that we're concerned, and then go out and take that message of economic freedom, of American opportunity, and restore American opportunity for all. The fact is that when we confuse outreach with policy, that's where we kind of get in the briar patch, JD.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Jorge, the way you delineate between, quote, outreach and inclusion.
Yes.
As I've always said about politics, I may not have been the best guy in math, but I understand that politics is the art of addition. Of course, there are some questions that remain, how best you include people, and there is this national movement, and it perhaps is mirrored by a discussion within the grand old party. For example, what was it, less than maybe about 2 weeks ago, former Governor Jeb Bush was quoted, and indeed he's doubled down on this, saying that illegal immigration is an act of love. Your stance on what former Governor Bush had to say?
I understand where Governor Bush is coming from, and certainly where Governor Perry came from last night when he spoke about having sympathy. And to some extent, we all have sympathy for people who come here from another country or who come here from another city or from another state, for that matter, and come here to Florida in search of better opportunities for themselves and for their families. But at the same time, we understand that immigration is not just a matter of empathy, it's a matter of national security. And that's where our concern comes from the fact that we have a border area that we need to make sure is protected, from the fact that we need to make sure that Al-Qaeda or Hezbollah or some of these other bad actors that work along the border, that they no longer work there anymore. We have a visa system that needs reform. And these things are separate from the matter of empathy and from the matter of sympathy.
Jorge Bonilla, we talked about former Governor Bush, and,
Right.
and obviously he's doubled down on those statements. Meantime, you have the real-life example of Marco Rubio, who is flying high, indeed almost in the stratosphere in terms of polling as a possible presidential candidate, and then Senator Rubio chose to cast his lot with the, quote, Gang of Eight and the amnesty bill. And an interesting situation. Of course, we acknowledge that BuzzFeed may not be the most empathetic website for Republicans, but Senator Rubio sat down and told the folks at BuzzFeed that we really didn't need to concentrate on national security first, that it was more important to welcome in newcomers. I believe that's an accurate paraphrase. We've seen what's happened to Senator Rubio's numbers in terms of dropping precipitously. Why is there an insistence in some quarters that, oh, you better embrace this comprehensive immigration reform or it means the ruination of the party? I don't believe that ethnicity alone determines someone's stance on the border. Do you?
No, JD. And just to go back on Senator Rubio, I absolutely stood with him throughout the whole backlash after the Group of 8 bill. Although I didn't agree with the bill in general, I stood with Senator Rubio. Just from my own personal point of view, I'm not about to throw out a 97% senator over one issue. Having said that, what your earlier point speaks to the matter that we continue to add policy with inclusion. These are separate matters, and we don't have to, I think, tie in policy with inclusion. When we do inclusion and go into the neighborhoods and speak to the people, then we earn enough standing to go in and take our message of economic freedom. We don't have to combine the two, I think.
You know, Jorge, when I was first running for office, I got some unlikely advice from a guy on the other side of the aisle, as I would have to walk neighborhoods in Arizona to get enough petition signatures from members of the party. I bumped into Dennis DeConcini, who was a Democratic senator who was about to retire. And he said, let me tell you something, JD, running for public office is the ultimate education. You learn something new every day. Jorge Bonilla, in terms of the education you've received in your candidacy for the U.S. House, what has been the greatest lesson you've learned thus far?
I've learned that we are able to connect with people from all walks of life, and people are open to a message of restoration of American opportunity. I've learned that America is not tilting towards this European model, that America, I don't think, is tilting at all towards this idea that government is to occupy a preeminent role in our lives. Quite the contrary. When I get out there into the neighborhoods, into the communities, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, at the end of the day, people want to feed their kids. People want to pay their bills. People are concerned about the future of this country, and that's what I've seen as I've gone out in the neighborhoods.
Now, Jorge Bonilla, a lot of people are saying this is going to be a Republican year. This midterm coming up in 2014, witness the fact that not only you would love to replace Alan Grayson, but also Carol Platt and Peter Vivaldi, your fellow Republicans running for the right to win the nomination. Alan Grayson, as a national target, the master of the outrageous statement, the unapologetic, unvarnished leftist. He served a single term, then was defeated. Then in the redrawing of lines here in Florida, he returned to Congress.
Right.
Why should you replace Alan Grayson in the United States House of Representatives?
That's a great question, JD. The fact of the matter is that I am the only candidate in the field that can speak to the entire conservative movement in the Republican primary and then go out in the general and take this message to everybody within the district. The fact of the matter is that Alan Grayson doesn't represent us. He doesn't represent the 9th District. He doesn't represent the values or the principles that unite people that work hard, that want to take care of their kids, that are concerned about their future within the 9th Congressional District. I understand, having lived and worked within that district for many years, I understand what compels people to wake up in the morning, what compels people and drives them to go to work and do the things that they do to take care of the families. And that's what I'll take with me to Washington.
Now, as any wise campaigner, you start with the date of the primary and you count back in terms of the campaign.
Right.
So the Florida Republican primary comes on what date, Jorge?
August 26th.
August 26th, a date that is etched into your mind and that of your competitors for this seat. And I know it will be a spirited race, but I'm sure that all three of you will follow Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment and not speak ill of one another, just talk about policy differences and move forward.
Certainly.
Jorge Bonilla, we thank you so much for your time. Good luck to you in the 9th Congressional District in Florida. That's Central Florida in the Orlando area. And I will tell you, sir, if you are honored to serve in the House of Representatives, it is a great honor and distinction, and I speak from personal experience. It is great to have you here, Jorge.
Thank you, JD.
Thank you so much for your time, and good luck on the campaign trail. Again,
Thank you.
as a guy who's been through primaries, have to make, as I know his opponents would say, JD, don't forget about us. And to be fair, Carol Platt and Peter Vivaldi likewise running for that Republican nomination in the 9th Congressional District of Florida. Now, Hope you'll stay with us, because when we come back, hope for people suffering from blindness, and this comes in the form of a bionic eye. Wow, that'll be a neat story. I don't think it involves Lee Majors or who is it? It was Lindsay Wagner who played that's right, the Bionic Woman. At any rate, we'd love to hear from you, our social discussion. What do you think about Jorge Bonilla and his candidacy for the Congress? We'd love to hear from you. You can tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV. Also, you can use email. Our address, connect@newsmaxtv.com. And there is Facebook, facebook.com/Newsmax. There's plenty ahead on America's Forum. Stay with us.